So we're going to dive a little deeper here into what do we mean by somebody who has a head brain social neural style. Dave, can you mind walking us through what is that? What's the definition? Where do you see some strengths, maybe some of the blind spots, and what does what does it look like when that person is being challenged through to up their leadership effectiveness?
Yeah. So there's a lot of ways of defining, but one way is to personalize it. I'm a thoughtful person. I'm reasonable. I'm logical. I'm analytical. I'm creative. I care about vision. I care about systems. I like to see things fit together seamlessly, right? I'm really what I'm really curious about is how did they design it? How will we design it? How should people design things? And I'm also interested in learning. They are more interested in informational learning, right, than they are in I don't think anybody's natively interested in transformational learning, but they are interested in informational learning because that's part of the world of the abstract, the world of ideas, right?
I mean, you're speaking my language. I'm a head brain guy. Yeah, I love good plans. I love a clear vision. I love
yeah.
These are good ideas. Let's do it. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
You're revving me up as you're talking about it.
Yes, for those of you who may not be picking up on David's humor here, he is more head brain. I am more heart brain. Probably we're both secondarily gut brain, which is why we've both been entrepreneurs. I think entrepreneurs tend to be main gut brain or maybe a little bit secondary. But yeah, so that's really the head brain style. And what will they ignore? How will they not hear? Right? So there's no defining of these socioneural styles that doesn't include the ways that we don't hear, because let's face it, being social and empathetic like a heart brain person, or being instinctive, pragmatic, kind of able to respond quickly. Like, what about when there's no plan? Hey, you want that gut brain person kind of right there next to you. So what do they not hear? They might not, the head brain socioneural style might not hear the importance around results. Right? They might ignore that very important gut brain orientation. They might not hear the value of being relational, right? You can teach people this, right? Each of the brains can be taught because we all use all three, right? This is just about what's your go-to,
Yeah.
What's the one that you start with? What's the one that you end with? But also, how do you not hear? So how do you hear? They hear in the abstract. They hear how things fit together, and especially if they fit together well, like a puzzle. The head brain socioneural style is going to get all kinds of dopamine hits when things fit together super well. But then they also might not hear in certain ways about empathy, about outcomes, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely relate to that, especially in earlier iterations of my leadership. I was very obviously, in hindsight, missing the importance of relational connections, the importance of day-to-day results and measurable impact, and delineating how are we going to decide what progress is, where are we going to have a checkpoint. It's like, well, it's a good idea. It'll work eventually, and it's like, well, that doesn't work for gut people. So yeah, you're speaking my language, both on the skills, but also on those limitations and those growth opportunities. So it was a great unpacking.
Thank you. And by the way, I remember you before you sold your first company. I remember you starting to talk about the different stores and the teams as teams, which then, begged the question or raised the question about team bonding. And that was like, you were like, oh yeah, this team as a team and the bond. So you eventually got there, and that's my point about these styles. It wasn't the first thing, right? That was years, right? So yeah, eventually we'll all fill out, because we all have all three brains. We'll eventually fill those things out. It's just not what we start with.
Right, right. And a key thing there, and this is what I think it's critical for our listeners, is your leadership effectiveness, your growth is ultimately going to be limited by your lack of fluency of the other styles. So you could be a top 1% in one style, which will get you far, but to the degree you're underdeveloped in the other styles, you will be held back from your leadership success, your effectiveness, and you'll also be holding back the team or the organization around you to the degree you're underdeveloped across these things. So much like your leadership challenges, these don't just hold you back, they hold back all the places that you're connected where you're a key node in that network. So this has systemic impact, and it's a systemic issue.